All right, Rabbi, good morning. Let's begin. We are getting started today. Just actually before we start, I just want to remind everyone, Baruch Hashem, in the midst of all of our Daf Yomi learning, so we're also making the Kehila is also making a Siyam Hashas. There's part of the build up to the Siyam Hashas is something called Chavrei Hashas, where a Kehila is encouraged to finish off entire Shas by splitting it off into multiple individual learning segments. We've sent out multiple emails. This particular Siyam is dedicated by the Venik, Erez, Fishbein, Pomerantz families in memory of Herman Venik, Zichron Livracha. It's an incredible opportunity. We're all learning the Daf, so Baruch Hashem, we have a lot of Torah we have to learn, but this is a beautiful additional opportunity for your learning. Another plug, it's a great opportunity for Night Seder. If you're looking to do something perhaps during Night Seder, this is an extra additional limud. The Gemaras, so the family has dedicated a set of Shas that if you sign up for learning, the particular volume is yours. Those Gemaras are on that bookcase over there. They're labeled with pink stickers, but they're yours to take. So if you sign up for a Masechta, you could take the actual individual volume. You could also take off the sticker if you want. They were mistakenly labeled, but they're yours to take. So please, after Shir, decide what you want to learn, take it, and learn it. I would just ask that if you take it and learn it, please just go to the shul website and register your particular learning assignment. This way we could see that the different chalokim are taken. Or the truth is you could just send me an email or a text message and I'm happy to register you for it online. But please, it's an incredible opportunity. We're going to, Emir Hashem, we're going to have a big simcha when we are Messiahim Shas together, which is going to be incredible. But the notion that our Kehila as a Kehila could also be Messiahim Shas is something that's really very special. And the truth is, it's a 20 blot commitment, which for any of us who are learning Daf, 20 blot commitment, it's like nothing. It's like 3 weeks, right? It's absolutely, that's no problem. So to be able to do 20 blot, and this is not, remember, the Siyam is made at the same time that the Siyam Hashas is, which is on January 1st. So really a couple of months, especially with all the Yamim Tovim coming, there's plenty of time. Everyone has time to take on a little bit of additional learning. Really, there's not one amongst us who doesn't have the time to do it. The Gemaras are here. Choose your assignment today, tomorrow. Register online. Email me. I'm happy to register you. And in addition to being Messiahim Shas ourselves, also a part of a Kehila de Kasim, which is exceptionally beautiful as well. All right, to both with that, let's begin. Today's daf is Chaf Hey. Ashkach Rabbi Yehuda for giving this shir yesterday. We are going to pick up Emir Hashem. 3 lines up from the bottom, Chaf Dalet Amud Beis, 24b. 3 lines up from the bottom, at the 2 dots, Asham Vadai Eino Kain. So our shir this morning, our shiurim this month, are dedicated by Bennett Goldberg. And Bennett Goldberg is a Talmud Torah sponsor in memory of his parents, Avram ben Asher Pinchas, Fega Rezel Bas Zelig, and in the hopes that all of the suburban mishpacha have their tefillos answered over the Yamim Noraim. The shir is also sponsored, Daf Yomi is sponsored this month by Yonason and Rachel Wolf of Highland Park, New Jersey, in loving memory of Rachel's mother, Chaya Bas Moshe Zichron Livracha. We hope that in the merit of our Talmud Torah, the Neshama will have an aliyah in the family, Ein Nechama. The truth is, I still have my note from last week about the Garden House's sponsoring breakfast. So I don't know. I was going to say, if it's on the stender, you have to do it. You have to do it. You're going to have to do it. All right, so we'll say with that, let's begin. So we're picking up fascinating sugya today. Itmar Egla Arufa a Masay Ne'eseres. So the Gemara says, at what point in time does Egla Arufa become Asur? So remember again, reorient ourselves a little bit. You find the corpse in between 2 cities. We don't know who murdered the individual. What's the halacha? The elders of the closest city bring a calf. So we're going to Nachal Isan, to some type of dry riverbed. They decapitate the calf. They wash their hands over the calf. Yadenu lo shafchu dam zeh. Our hands did not spill this blood. That is the process of Egla Rufa. Egla Rufa is mentioned in the context of Asham Talui, because just like Asham Talui is brought in a case of suffix, in a case of doubt, Egla Arufa kind of finds itself in similar circumstances. Because when is Egla Arufa brought? When there's doubt. What's the doubt? The doubt, see, it's not as much doubt as much as it is ambiguity. We don't know who killed this particular individual. And so, again, we go out and we bring the Egla Arufa. So it says the Gemara, Egla Arufa imasai ne'aseres. At what point in time is Egla Arufa become Aser Bana? Rav Hamnuna Amar Mechaim. Rav Hamnuna says, already when the Egla is alive. So it sounds like Rav Hamnuna is saying, as soon as the Egla is designated as the Egla, right? As soon as we make a decision, this is going to be the Egla that is going to be brought down and decapitated, it automatically becomes Aser. Rava says, when does it become Aser? La'achar Arifa. After it is decapitated. Bishlam Rava. So according to Rava, says after decapitation, it makes sense. Me'idno dis avid be'maisa. So according to Rava, it makes sense. When does Egla Arufa become Aser? From the moment that a maisa was done, decapitation occurred. That's ultimately again when it becomes Aser. But according to Rav Hamnuna, how are you to understand that it becomes Aser even when it's still alive? Top of Chav Hey. Amrav Yanai. Gvul shamati ba v'shachachti. So Rav Yanai says, I once heard an explanation about this. Literally, I once heard about when Egla Arufa becomes Aser, but I forgot exactly when that occurs. V'nasbin chavari l'meimar, and my friends helped me, say, an incredible Musar. It is so good to have friends who talk about Torah as opposed to talk about other things, right? Because here Rabbi Yanai says, I forgot about what I learned, but Baruch Hashem, I have good chaverim. And so by having discussions with my chaverim, I remembered, now both it comes along Rabbi Yanai, and Rabbi Yanai actually brings up a different idea. Rabbi Yanai says that when does Egla Arufa become Aser? When it's led down to Nachal Esan, when it's led down to the dry riverbed. So both say, this is different than Rava, certainly than Rava, because Rava is saying it doesn't become Aser until decapitation. And ultimately, again, even Rav Hamnuna says Mechayim. Now, interestingly enough, does Mechayim mean sometime earlier than Rabbi Yanai is saying, or perhaps it could be what Rabbi Yanai is saying? That Allah Mechayim means as soon as it's led down to the dry riverbed, even though it has not yet been decapitated, it is already Aser Ba'ana. Rav Hamnuna. Mina Aminos. Rav Hamnuna says, how do I know that the Egla Arufa becomes Aser even before decapitation, even while it's still alive? Disnan, because we learned Hashochet Paras Chatos V'Shar Haniska Ve'Egla Arufa. Supposed to listen to this fascinating case. This is talking about a situation of Osovi Espino. So the halacha is you're not allowed to shecht a mother and a child on the same day. So listen to this interesting case. What happens if you shecht? Remember, Paras Chatos is a para aduma. Shar Haniskal is a shar that is going to be stoned because it killed someone. And Egla Arufa is the decapitated calf. So we'll say, so imagine the following situation. Let's say halacha l'maisa, right? I shechted the child, right? The child of any one of these three animals. Either the child of a paraduma, child of a shar niskal, or the child of an egla arufa. Or for that matter, it doesn't matter whether it's the child of these animals or the mother of these animals. And now what happens? I then go and I shecht a para aduma, a shar niskal, an egla arufa. So now am I in violation of osovi es bino or not? Rabbi Shimon Poter. Rabbi Shimon says you're Poter. And the Chachamim say that you're Chayiv. So watch this. So says Rav Hamnuna. Let's analyze this. Bishlama l'didi da'amina mechayim b'hapli yirab shenabana. So Rav Hamnuna says, now this brisa makes sense according to me. Let's focus on Egla Arufa for just a moment. So imagine the following situation. Imagine I shechted, let's keep it easy. I shechted the mother of the Egla Arufa. Okay, I shechted the mother of the Egla Arufa. Now what happens? I shecht the Egla Arufa. So the shaila now is, have I violated osovi espino lo sishchatu b'yom echad? So the Rabbanon, the Chachamim will say you're chayiv. Rabbi Shimon says you're pater. Rav Hamnuna says this machlokes makes sense according to me. Why does it make sense according to me? Because remember again, Rav Hamnuna says, what does he hold? He holds that halacha l'maisa that the Egla Arufa becomes Aser Mechayim. So according to me, it makes sense that the machlokes. Why? What are they arguing about? Rabbi Shimon savar shchita she'ena reuya lo shma shchita. Rabbi Shimon says, we'll say, an inappropriate shchita, right, is not called shchita. So we'll say, what does it mean inappropriate shchita? Once you've identified ultimately the animal as the egla arufa, then what? It's asher ba'ana. You can't do anything with it. If you can't do anything with it, that this is an inappropriate shchita. Rabbi Shimon will say shchita she'ena reuya is still shma shchita. It's still a proper shchita, and therefore what? Halacha l'maisi, you are in violation of a soviet spino. V'Rabbanan amri shchita she'ena reuya. I'm sorry, so that's just the opposite. Rabbi Shimon savar shchita she'ena reuya lo shma shchita. Rabbi Shimon, who says that your pater, holds that a shchita that is not a halachically recognized shchita is not called shchita. Therefore, again, if you go ahead and you shechted the mother, and now you shecht the child, who happens to be an egla arufa, that shchita of the egla arufa is not called a shchita, and therefore you're not in violation of Asavi Espino. For Rabbanan Amri, the Rabbanan will say no, shchita she'ena reuya, shma shchita. I should say, they'll say yes, right? Which is what? That is even a non-halachically recognized shchita is still what? Is still called shchita. And therefore, what have you effectively done? You have effectively shechted a mother and its offspring on the same day, and therefore you are chayiv. Now, I will say, Rav Hamnuna says, this only makes sense according to me. Why? Because what do I hold? I hold that the egla rufa becomes aser when? Mechayim. Even before it's decapitated, even while it's still alive. So that it has the status of the egla arufa as soon as you designate it so. Then you could have this machlokas. Elei amrit la'achar arifa. But if you hold that the egla arufa really only becomes the egla arufa when? After it's decapitated, amai pater Rabbi Shimon. Why would Rabbi Shimon pater you in the case of a Asavi Espino? Shchita ru'uyehi. But say, if you hold that the egla arufa only becomes an egla arufa when? After decapitation. So if you shechted the mother, and then you shechted the daughter, we'll call it the daughter egla arufa, of course you should be chayiv. What's the shaila? It's not an egla arufa until after decapitation. Why would Rabbi Shimon hold that halacha l'maisa? You're pater. So again, Rav Hamnuna is saying, interestingly enough, Rav Hamnuna is gleaning his proof from this Mishnah. So Rav Hamnuna is saying the fact that there is a machlokes about whether or not you're in violation of Asavi Espino by the case of an egla arufa that's shechted on the same day as its mother indicates to us what? That the egla arufa must attain its identity from the time that is designated. Because if an egla arufa didn't attain its identity until after it's decapitated, then halacha l'maisa, of course it's Asavi Espino, because it's not an egla arufa yet. You're shechting a mother and a child on the same day. What's the shaila? To which the Gemara says, "V'chitema." Maybe you'll say, "Savar Rabbi Shimon egla b'shchita kshera." So maybe there's a different something that's happening over here. Maybe Rabbi Shimon is of the opinion, that even if you decapitate an egla through shchita, that is a proper process. So we'll say, just so you understand, in general, we assume that decapitation takes place from where? From the back of the neck. As if we'll see this in just a moment, as opposed to shchita, which ultimately takes place from, what we'll call the simanim side of the neck. So we'll say, so now watch this. Maybe Rabbi Shimon holds that halacha l'maisa, egla arufa is kasher b'shchita. Maybe that's what he holds. And therefore, again, I will say you can have this element of what? This element of simultaneity. Maybe even Rabbi Shimon who holds that the egla arufa only becomes an egla from the shas arifa, from the decapitation. But he holds that decapitation could be accomplished through shchita. But that can't be true. I'll tell you why. V'atanan, kasher b'para pasal b'egla arufa. That which is kasher by para, both in this case, para means what? Para aduma, right? Para aduma is pasal by egla arufa. Pasal b'para, kasher b'egla arufa. That which is pasal by para aduma, ultimately again is kasher by egla arufa. How so? We'll say, what does this mean? Para b'shchita kshera. Barif psula. We'll say very important halacha. Para aduma, para aduma is shechted. Para aduma gets shchita, so it's kasher b'shchita, but ultimately again it is possible by decapitation. Egla, when it comes to egla rufa, barifa ksher, it's kasher with decapitation, but b'shchita psula. Ultimately again with shchita it is possible. So ultimately it says the Gemara ishtik. He was quiet. He was quiet. Shabbos says, interestingly enough, Rav Hamnuna's raya does not seem to be all that great. The basar dinafek amar. So after he left, he said, "My time elo aminale. Why don't you answer the following? Rabbi Shimon savar egla b'shchita kshera. Why don't you say that ultimately again that Rabbi Shimon is of the opinion that an egla arufa is kasher b'shchita?" Rav Hamnuna Amar Lacha, Rav Hamnuna would say to you, Lo nishtamit tana deneshma inon egla b'shchita kshera ten Rabbi Shimoni. Rav Hamnuna said you can't say that. I'll tell you why. Because the truth is, we have no tana on record. We have no tana on record that holds that egla arufa is kasher b'shchita. Or as I will say, we have no concept like that. There is no one that espoused that opinion anywhere on record that an egla arufa is kasher b'shchita. Fine. So we'll say, so ultimately again, Rav Hamnuna's position itself is still, it's not exactly clear where he gets it from. So here's what we know. We know that Rav Hamnuna holds that the egla arufa becomes asr mechayim. It's not exactly clear where Rav Hamnuna ultimately gleans that particular where Rav Hamnuna gleans that shita from, because even the Mishnah that he quoted doesn't seem to be that Rabbi Shimon would hold that halacha lemaisa the egla is kasher b'shchita. We have no such opinion like that, because it appears that egla arufa is dafka only done through decapitation, which again the Gemara Masechah Sota discusses extensively from the back of the neck, not from the front of the neck. Amar Rava. Rava says mina minallah. So Rava says, where do I know my position? Remember, Rava is of the position that the egla arufa only becomes aser when? Achar arifa, after decapitation. That's when it becomes aser. So Rav says, where do I get this from? This now, I'll tell you where. Egla arufa, eino kain. Ad shelo nerfa, teitiv teres. Let's remember, go back to the Mishnah. Our Mishnah that we just read on Friday, right? The new Mishnah on the parak. What's what happened with egla arufa? If you designated animals in egla arufa, then what? And then what? The murder. They discovered who the murderer was. They found who the murderer was. What's the halacha? If you did not yet decapitate, achlo nerfa, teitzev tira be'eder. So what's the halacha? If they found the murderer before they decapitated the calf, what do you do with the calf? Set out to pasture. And as we said again, that's not a metaphor. That's literal. In other words, the calf is free to go. Free to go. What does that show you? The amrit mechayim. What that shows you, Rabbi, is what? When does egla rufa become an egla rufa? From the moment of decapitation. Because Rabbi says to Rav Hamnuna, if you are really right, that the egla rufa becomes asr even while it's still alive, I might take tivitira be'eder. Ha'isra michayim. If you, Rav Hamnuna, are really correct, that the egla rufa becomes asr while it's still alive, why should it be set out to pasture? It was already designated as an egla rufa, and something else should happen to it. To which the Gemara says, Tani, achlo nires la'arifa. To which the Gemara says, Rav Hamnuna would say, the way you have to read the Mishnah is at sheniris la'arifa. What does that mean? Rashi says, Delo yarda lenachal esan. Rav Hamnuna both say, by the way, just so you understand, the way the Gemara is understanding things over here is that Rabbi Yanai is clarifying the position of Rav Hamnuna. When Rav Hamnuna says that the egla arufa becomes aser mechayim while it's still alive, what does while it's still alive means? From the time that it's taken down to the riverbed to be decapitated, even before it's decapitated, but from the time that it's taken down, halacha l'mais, it has a designation of egla arufa. So the way Rav Hamnuna would read the Mishnah is like this: if the murderer was discovered ad shelo niras la'arifa, before the egla was determined ready to be decapitated. When is it determined ready to be decapitated? When it's taken down to Nachal Eisan. So if the murderer is discovered before that time, Einachinami, the calf, the egla rufa goes out, I should say the egla goes out to pasture, it goes out to be free. But Einachinami, if already the egla was taken down to Nachal Eisan, then halacha l'maisa becomes Asar Ba'ana. Amos say for 1 second, look at the end of the Mishnah that says Mishenerfa tikaver bimkoma. But the end of the Mishnah says that if it was decapitated and then the murderer was found, what do? We bury the egla in its place. So I'll say it seems to be over there that only the egla rufa only becomes asr when? From the moment that it's decapitated. Tani misheniris la'arifa. Ultimately, again, you have to read it as once it was deemed ready to be decapitated. Once it was deemed ready to be decapitated, i.e. was brought down to Nachal Isan, even if the murder was subsequently discovered, the egla would still be asr ba'ana. Im kain ema seifa sha'ala safek ba mitchila kipra. I'm sorry. Im kain ema seifa. If that's the case, when the seifa says sha'ala safek ba mitchila kifra sveika v'hal chala. So remember again, because the Mishnah itself says egla arufa to begin with is only brought because of safek. As long as at the time of decapitation, the suffix was still intact, even if the murderer was subsequently found, the suffix, meaning the egla rufa, served its purpose. The imechayim, but if at the end of the day the egla rufa becomes asr while it's still alive, adayin lo kipra sveikasa. Ultimately, again, the suffix has still not been addressed, meaning if it's asr while it's still alive, and we find the murderer while the egla is still alive, ultimately the suffix has not been addressed. To which the Gemara says Tanoihi. In reality, this entire thing is a machlokes Tanoim. This sanya, Ne'emar machshu mechaper bifnim. So we've actually seen this concept before. The Torah discusses machshir u'mechaper bifnim. Remember again, there are two different types of karbanos we bring. So sometimes a karban is a machshir. Machshir means the type of karban that allows one to enter into the Beis HaMikdash and partake of sacrificial items. Mechaper is the type of karban that provides atonement. So there is a machshir u'mechaper bifnim, v'ne'emar machshir u'mechaper b'chutz. Rabbi said there are some karbanos that are machshir and mechaper and they're brought inside, and there are some karbanos that are machshir and the mechaper and they're brought outside. Look at Rashi for just a moment. Machshir bifnim, asha metzora. So I will say an example of a machshir, a karban, that is a machshir that is brought inside the Beis HaMikdash, that's the asham and a metzora. What's a mechaper bifnim? Chataos v'ashamos. On the flip side, machshir bachutz was an example of a machshir bachutz, a karban which allows you to enter in to the Beis HaMikdash and partake of sacrificial items that is brought outside of the Beis HaMikdash, tzipori metzora, and mechaper bachutz, si'ira mishtaleach ve'egla arufa. So watch this. Says the Gemara, Ma machshir mechaper amar bifnim, aso bo machshir ki mechaper. I'm sorry. Let me do that again. Ma machshir mechaper amar bifnim. So both say just like the machshir mechaper that are brought inside of the Beis HaMikdash, asa bo machshir ki mechaper. The machshir is just like the mechaper of machshir. U'mechaper amar bachutz asa machshir ki mechaper. So to both say the machshir and mechaper that it's brought on the outside, we make the machshir like the mechaper. What does that mean? Take a look at Rashi. Rashi says, Ma machshir amar bifnim asa ba machshir asha metzora ki mechaper ki shar chatos v'ashamos. So both say just like the machshir that is brought on the inside, ultimately we make the machshir like the mechaper. So for example, an asha metzora is treated like other chatos and ashamos that are brought bifnim. Af machshir ham u'mechaper ha'amar b'chutz. Just like the machshir and mechaper that are brought outside of the Beis HaMikdash, asa bo machshir ki mechaper. The machshir, tzipori mesora, that are asar ba'ana even while they're still alive, are made like a mechaper, are treated like the mechaper, which is what? Sira mishtaleach ve'egla arufa. So according to this version, the egla arufa is treated like the tzipori mitzora. Just like tzipori mitzora ultimately asr mechayim, so to egla arufa will be asr mechayim as well. So according to this limud, you have a Tana who holds that egla arufa is asr while it is still alive. Still alive means what? Means what from when? Brought down to Nachal Esan. So effectively, we have a machlokes tanoim. There is an opinion that holds that egla arufa is only going to be asr once it is decapitated, and then we have an opinion that ultimately again equates machshir when it comes to the machshir u'mechaper bachutz asa bo machshir ki mechaper. That ultimately again a machshir is like a mechaper. So we'll say just like we will compare the mechaper of egla arufa to the machshir ultimately again of tzipore mitzora. Just like ultimately again the tzipori mitzora asra mechayim, so to egla rufa will be asra mechayim as well. So effectively, imachlokes tana. We'll say, how do we paskin? When does egla rufa effectively become asra bana? So the Rambam in Hilchos wrote Seach. This is in Parak Yud Halacha Vav, writes as follows: Egla arufa asra bania. So first of all, egla rufa is asra bana. Now this is talking about asra bana after, Asr Ba'ana, and after you decapitate it, what do you do with the body of the eglah? You bury it in its place. So that's the halacha. When does it become aser ba'ana? U'mishetered lenachal te aser ba'ana. So we'll say the halacha is, as soon as the eglah is brought down to the nachal isan, it becomes aser ba'ana, afapi sha'adayin lo nerfa. That's the Rambam Paskin. It's like Rav Hamnuna. The Rebbe said, Rav Hamnuna, as explained by Rabbi Yanai, that once the eglah is brought down to the Nachal Isan, even though it's still alive, it still becomes Aser Ba'ana. Ve'meisa o nishchata achar yiridasa harezu asura bani abit cover. So the Rambam in the next sif talks about how do you do an eglah rufa? Not with shchita. Not with shchita. In fact, if you shachted an eglah rufa, it's not good. It must be decapitated from the back of the neck. But if for some reason the eglah, let's say you take the eglah down to the Nachal Isan, and the eglah has a heart attack and dies, right? Or the eglah was accidentally shachted, what's the halacha? It's Aser Ba'ana, because again, remember, the Isser Hana status devolves upon it when? Once it's brought down to Nachal Isan, but ultimately, again, it's still buried in place. Halacha l'maaseh Rambam Paskin is like Rav Hamnuna, as explained by Rabbi Yanai, namely, again, the eglah rufa becomes Aser Ba'ana from the moment that it's brought down to Nachal Isan. Good, that's the halacha, Rabbi say. Weiter, says the Mishnah. Rabbi say, an incredible Mishnah. We've referenced it many, many times. Now we're actually going to see it inside. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Misnadev Adam Asham Talei B'chol Yom B'chol Isha Yirtzeh. Rabbi Eliezer says, a person can bring in Asham Talei whenever he wants, right? Any day, anytime he wants. Huaya Nikra Asham Chasidim. Rabbi Eliezer says this used to be called the Asham of the pious ones. What's Rabbi Eliezer's logic? The logic is a very simple one, which is pretty much there's a pretty good chance that at any time on any given day you've done something that requires an Asham Taloi. It's a little bit of a sobering statement on the human condition, right? But Lamaisa true. Right? Chances are at any point in time you've done something that warrants an Asham Taloi. I'm sorry, like bringing flowers home. Excellent, right? Right, bringing flowers, right? Beautiful. We'll say this year is like one-stop shopping. You get shalom bayis, cinnamon buns, and a blat gemara, right? Everything, right? Like bringing home flowers. Chances are you've done something that warrants bringing home flowers. Well said. Well said. I'm not going to put on the recording who made that suggestion, but you'll tell from the accent, right? So again, so says the gemara. So Elazar says, "Vipashtas, you can bring an Asham Taloi home. You bring an Asham Taloi home, right? You can bring an Asham Taloi at any given day, and this is called Asham Chasidim. This is called the Asham of the pious ones." So says the Gemara, Amra Lava Bava Ben Buta Shai Mustadev Asham Taloi B'chol Yom. So we'll say, here's what's interesting. Rabbi Eliezer is speaking in the theoretical. Right? In the theoretical, he says that a person could be misnadev and asham taloi on every single day and any time he wants. Now the Gemara says Bava ben Buta used to actually do this. Right? He would bring in asham taloi every day. This is incredible. Chutz me'achar yom kippurim yom echad. Rabbi said there was one day out of the year that Bava ben Buta didn't bring in asham taloi, which is when? The day after Yom Kippur. Now we'll see why that is in just a moment. Obviously Yom Kippur himself, he also didn't bring an Asham Taloi, but we'll say, and obviously again on Yomim Tovim, Shabbosos, obviously you're not bringing an Asham Taloi. That's obvious. But interestingly enough, Eva Bava Ben Buta felt that on the day after Yom Kippur, there wasn't the need for an Asham Taloi. Amar Bava Ben Buta said, Hamon azeh, I swear by the Beis HaMikdash, Ilu hayu manichin osi hayisi mevi. So Bava Ben Buta said the truth is, I would even bring an Asham Taloi on the day after Yom Kippur. I would even bring one. But the rabbis, right? The rabbis told me, Bava Ben Buta, come on, right? Give it a break. At least, meaning there has to be the possibility that you did something wrong. So we'll see why the day after Yom Kippur was a little bit different. The Chum say we disagree. Ein maybe Asham Taloi ela al shezadona karis shegasa chatos. Chum say not true. Chum say, so we'll say, as we're going to see, Rabbi Eliezer, Bava Ben Buta have a fundamentally different conception of Asham Taloi. This is not just, meaning the novelty over here is not just that they're allowing you to bring it every single day. The novelty, as we're going to see, is what they allow an Asham Talui to be brought for. That's really going to be the fundamental issue. Chachamim say you can only bring Asham Talui on what? On something where if you did it intentionally, it would be a Chiyav Kares, and unintentionally, ultimately Chatos. And Asham Talui is brought because you may have violated something. So we'll say interesting sugya now. If you are definitely chayiv v'chatas or an asham. So for example, I will say, I know I definitely ate chaylev. But what happens? I didn't get a chance to bring my asham, right, before Yom Kippur, my chatas before Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur came. Yom Kippur does not absolve me of my carbonic responsibility. So even after Yom Kippur, I still have to bring my carbon. However, the Gemara says, the chayiv ashamos teluyin peturin. We'll say, what does Yom Kippur do? This is quite amazing. So we're going to see Yom Kippur does not wipe out bona fide carbonic liability. What Yom Kippur does wipe out, I read the word, what Yom Kippur does absolve is like an Asham Talui. So we'll say, if you have an Asham Talui hanging over you and Yom Kippur comes, Yom Kippur wipes out, absolves you of that Asham Talui liability. And I say, if somebody did a Safek Avera on Yom Kippur itself, even if it's towards the evening, ultimately Pater. Yom Kippur, we saw this before, Yom Kippur itself wipes out possible liability. Shekala Yom Mechaper. Ultimately, against Yom Kippur itself, the entire day is mechaper. Ha'isha sheyesha la'chatas ha'of safek v'avar Yom Kippur chayeves lahavi lach Yom Kippur. Also, listen to this. What if a woman who gave birth and she's not sure if the birth was a halachically valid birth? We saw this before. Woman miscarries something, she's not sure ultimately again what she miscarried. Is there tumas leida, not tumas leida? So what's the halacha? Even after Yom Kippur, she still has to bring her chatas ha'of. Why? Because we'll say ultimately, again, here's what's interesting. Because remember, her obligation of chatas for both sides, for what purpose? Is a machshir, not a mechaper. Is something that allows her to come into the Beis HaMikdash and consume sacrificial items. Yom Kippur only wipes out what? Only wipes out safek mechaprim. But not safek mechashrim, not machshirim. Thank you. So the Gemara says, I'm gonna review this in just a moment. Chatas of obayim safek. If you have to bring a chatas of alt safek, again we'll define the parameters of this case. Imishanimlaka noda. I will say what happens. So this is a classic case of a woman, right, who goes ahead and gave birth to miscarried something. She's not sure if what she miscarried is a bona fide leida or not. So she's bringing a chatas ha'of misafek. What happens if they did malika on the bird and then it's discovered that in fact that's what? She didn't miscarry, so it was a bona fide birth, so she wasn't chayeves tikaver. We bury the bird. So we'll say, so we have in this Mishnah is two dramatic ideas. Number one is a fundamental machlokes about the nature of Asham Talui. Rabbi Eliezer is saying there's a concept called Asham Chasidim, which is what? Bringing Asham Talui every single day of the year. Minus Shabbos Yom Tov. With the exception of what? Day after Yom Kippur. Bava Ben Buta, I would even bring in Asham Talui day after Yom Kippur, but the rabbis don't let me. Chachamim, we fundamentally disagree with this concept. There's no such thing as an Asham Chasidim. The only time we bring an Asham Talui is when? Is if you violated something, or I should say it differently. You potentially violated something that if you did it intentionally would be a Chiyav Kares, unintentionally Chiyav Chatos. That's it. That's the only case of Asham Talui. There's no Asham Chasidim. So we'll say that's machlokes number one. Concept number two is the power of Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur does not wipe out carbonic liability. So if you had a bona fide obligation for a chatas or an asham before Yom Kippur, and then there was Yom Kippur, after Yom Kippur what? You still have to bring it. What does Yom Kippur wipe out? What does Asham Talui? But I will say even Yom Kippur, now lest you think that Yom Kippur wipes out every safek carbon, that's not true. Yom Kippur only wipes out type Asham Talui. Why? Because it's a mechaper. So Yom Kippur absolves the individual of any liability for a safek carbon that is brought for kapara purposes. But if you have a safek carbon that is not brought for kapara purposes, rather for what? For what we'll call hechsher purposes, which is, we'll say, a safek carbon that's not brought for sin, but is brought, why? To ultimately, again, for status purposes, to allow me to enter into the Beis HaMikdash, to allow me to partake of karbanos. Yom Kippur does not wipe that out. Even after Yom Kippur, you would have to bring them. Beautiful. My time, Rabbi Eliezer. So we'll say, what's Rabbi Eliezer's logic? Because remember, again, Rabbi Eliezer's concept is really quite amazing, that you could bring in Asham Taloi every single day. Every single day. And Rabbi says, we're going to see if you could bring it for every single day. It sounds like, what can you bring it for? What can you bring it for? Sounds like kind of for anything. And we're going to see that. We're going to see that clarified in just a moment. What's Rabbi Eliezer's logic? To which the Gemara says, my time, Rabbi Eliezer. So the Gemara says, Misyadile amai maisi chatos. So we'll say, if you want to understand that halacha lamaisa, Rabbi Eliezer says that any time that you have a suffix, there's an obligation to bring a carbon. If that's the case, then even if it becomes known that in fact I did sin, why should you have to bring a chatas? You already brought your asham talui. Elishmamina nedavihi. Rather, really, in Rabbi Eliezer's model, an asham talui is in a dava. So I'll say when it comes to Nadava, you could bring in Nadava anytime you want. Just like you could bring in carbon Nadava whenever you want, then what? You can bring in asham talui whenever you want. So the Gemara says, V'rabanan ola ushlamim hu da'asu b'neder Nadava. So the Rabbanan say it's only in Olin Shlamim that can be brought as an Eder and a Dava. Chatas and Asham are obligatory offerings, and therefore could only be brought when warranted. V'asham talui hainu taima de maisim mikamei de misyadale lahagein alav da Torah chasa al gufan shaisa. So we'll say, listen to this. See, here's the fundamental machlokes. What family does Asham Tali belong to? Rabbi Eliezer holds that Asham Tali belongs to the Nedava family. The Nedava family, right? V'haraya, you could bring it even without definitive guilt. So by definition, it must be part of the Nedava family. If it's part of the Nedava family, then what? Bring it whenever you want. Chum say it is not part of the Nedava family. It is part of what? The Chatas and the Asham family. And you could only bring a Chatas and Asham when it is warranted. But one second, Asham Talui is Safek. So if it's part of the Chatas and Asham family, how can you bring in even al Safek? So we'll say herein lies the novelty of Asham Talui. Now remember again, Asham Talui says what kind of carbon? Asham Talui is an umbrella. It's a shield. Right? I may have done something wrong. So therefore again, there is a carbon that is there to shield me from punishment. That's called Asham Talui. Is it a definitive carbon? No. V'haraya, if it's determined later on that in fact I definitely did do something wrong, what do I have to do? I have to bring a chatas or an asham. So I will say, so again, it's there to protect me. Kadosh Baruch Hu loves me. He wants me to be afforded carbonic protection. He allows me to bring this asham taloi. But I will say, it is not a nedava. It is a derivative of, or it is a chelik of the chatas and asham family. Therefore, you can only bring it when there would be ground, when your infraction falls into the chatas and asham family. But lamaisa, just to stop bringing it, you cannot do that. So maybe asham tali is like an olon shlamim. Ma olo shlam da asu bechova va asu benedava. Asham tali nami da asi bechova asi nami benedava. But again, how do you know? Maybe asham taloi is in the olon shlamim family, just like olon shlamim can be brought obligatory or as an edava. So to asham taloi, amarlei ola ushlamim ikar benedava ksivi. Remember, olon shlamim abosai, they're written in the context of nedava. So asham taloi ikar bechova ksiv. Asham taloi itself is mentioned in the Torah in the context of obligatory offerings. So I will say, so you see that asham taloi, Rabbosai, is really linked to chatas and asham. So when there would be a definitive liability for chatas and asham, I should say differently, when there would be an obligation for chatas and asham, if I definitively did something, that's when you bring an asham talui, because perhaps I did it. But asham talui does not apply in any situation of nedava. Tani Rabbi Chia Kamei D'Rava, Amadeus, asham talui ba'ana anavela. So we'll say, wow, watch this. Now, this totally blows the conversation open. So you have Rabbi Chia teaching the following statement before Rava, that asham talui can even be brought for nevela. that Rabbi say, what's nevela? Look at Rashi, top Rashi in the top ball, nevela, kilomar, al safek isser lav. Rabbi say, remember, nevela, consumption of nevela is a lav. You now have a statement being made that you could bring an asham taloi even for what? The possible violation of a lav. Wow. So Rabbi say, up until now, remember again, in the Rabbana, in the Chachamim's model, when do you bring an asham taloi? When do you bring asham taloi? For the type of infraction that if you did it intentionally, what would be the halacha? Kares, unintentionally, chatos, potential violation, asham taloi. That's how it works in the Chachamim's construct. Now comes along Rabbi Chia and says, oh, even if you potentially violated a lav, right? If you potentially ate nevela, you can bring in asham taloi. Amrle, but one second, he said to him, but we learned in the Mishnah, the Chachamim omrim eino mevi asham taloi, ela al davar shezadono kares, v'shiga gasa chatas. But the Chacham saying in the Mishnah that's not true. You only begin asham taloi for something that is severe enough that if you did it intentionally, you would be chayiv. Kares, unintentionally chayiv chatos. V'i Rabbi Eliezer bin Adav nami asi. So, and if it's Rabbi Eliezer, so I'll say the truth is Rabbi Eliezer even holds that even without a potential violation of a lav, you could bring an asham taloi. Why? Just because you feel like it, right? Because you're in that asham taloi mood, right? You want to bring it as an adava, go right ahead. So the Gemara says, what's going on over here? Amrle, my taima lo masnis zimnin sagian. Because this, Amrle said to him, my taima lo masnis. Why did you not pay attention to shir? Right? In other words, why did you not pay greater attention when we learn this? Rashi says, lama lo lamarata kamei de rabba vayisio de akamoni. Why didn't you pay greater attention? Rabbi taught this. Tasi, you would have known this like me. Zimnin sagian tanise kamei mar. Many times we learned this again before. Mar, who is Mar? Umanu Rabba. And Rabba said, Va'amarli hamani Rabbi Eliezer he. The Rabba say, who is the opinion who says that you could even bring an asham taloi for nevela? That's Rabbi Eliezer. Or there's not a new opinion being introduced here. The opinion who says that you could bring an asham taloi even for just possibly eating nevela, that's Rabbi Eliezer. Da'amrulo, Damulo, this nan, Ella Omrim lo, Hamtin Achet Tikanas Labes Asafek. So I will say, remember, even in Rabbi Eliezer's model, Rabbi Eliezer actually wants to put forward that when can you bring in asham taloi? According to Eliezer, when can you bring asham taloi? When? Anytime you want. Do you need grounds to bring it? No. In Rabbi Eliezer's pure model, you don't even need grounds. In other words, because Rabbi Eliezer's logic will say, chances are you did something. They counter back to Rabbi Eliezer, even in your model, there has to be grounds. You have to at least have done something. Even if the something is relatively minimal, like what? Eating nevela, which is only a lav. So in fact, what's coming out over here is as follows. Even Rabbi Eliezer, who in his purest model wanted to suggest that you could go ahead and bring in asham taloi for what? Just because chances are you did something, we push back on Rabbi Eliezer and say, listen, Rabbi Eliezer, even you can't sanction that. There has to be at least some type of potential infraction that occurred. Even if the infraction is only a lav, like consuming nevela, even that, halacha l'maisa, you still have to say something occurred. Amarava. So we'll say, so now, just so you understand what's happening over here, we have this fundamental machlokes, Rabbi Eliezer and the Rabbanon. Rabbi Eliezer is saying, now there's kind of like two versions of Rabbi Eliezer. There's Rabbi Eliezer, there's pure Rabbi Eliezer, who says that you can bring in asham taloi anytime you want. He calls it asham chasidim. Then there's the modified version of Rabbi Eliezer that says that what? You at least need grounds, right? And your grounds can be very minimal. Like, you violated a lav. Or I should say, you possibly violated a lav, right? Maybe I ate nevela, which Rabbi say is punishable by what? If you ate nevela? Malchus, it's a lav. So then, that's Rabbi Eliezer's construct. Chacham say no. Asham Taloi comes in a very specific circumstance for that where you potentially, maybe, right, there's a suffix that you violated the type of infraction, where if you did it intentionally, kares, unintentionally, chatos, if there's a suffix, that's when you bring Asham Taloi. So the Gemara goes right to Amarava, my taima do Amrulo. So we'll say ultimately again, right, my time do Amrulo, Amarkra, Asharlo Siasena. So we'll say, so Rava says, Where do we get that in Rabbi Eliezer's model, there has to be at least the potential that you violated a lav, or it's at least a suffix lav? Where do we get that from? Where do we get that from? So the Gemara says, Asher lo se'asena ve'ashem. Because they both say, interestingly enough, the pasuk by Asham Talu, he says, Va'asesa achas mikol mitzvos Hashem asher lo te'asena below yada ve'ashem. So we'll say, if you want to be a literalist, Asher lo se'asena could refer to what? Lo se'aseh. So at least you have to agree that there has to be the potential violation of a lo saseh for an asham tali, right? You can't just bring asham tali for nothing. There has to be at least a suffix that you violated a lo saseh. So the Gemara says, "Va'amarava, my time in the Rabbanon, darmi ein mevin asham tali ela advar shazdana kar shigasa chatas." And where did the Rabbanon get their shita that you only bring an asham tali for something that, if done intentionally, is kares, unintentionally is a chatas? They say like this: Yalfi mitzvos mechatas chelev. Both say they make a gzera shava mitzvos. It says mitzvos by asham talui, and mitzvos ultimately again by chatas brought for chelev consumption. Ma lahalon, just like by chatas chelev shezadono karis shigasa chatas. So both say by chelev, if you intentionally eat chelev, you chayv karis. Unintentionally do so, it's chatas, and therefore again, if you're not sure it's a safek, you bring an asham talui. Afkan davar shezadono karis shigasa chatas. So to Rabbosai, for the Rabbanan's construct of asham talui, it is for something that, if done intentionally, is chayv karis. Unintentionally, ultimately, again, unintentionally, chayv chatas. So Rabbosai, so halacha l'maisa, it's amazing, right? It's pretty amazing. Fundamental machlokes in Rabbi Eliezer and the Chachamim ultimately comes down to how they dash in the pasuk. In Rabbi Eliezer's model, he says in the pasuk asham talui, what does it say? Asher lo te'asena. This is the modified version of Rabbi Eliezer. So in the modified version of Rabbi Eliezer, for Asham Tali, what do you need? At least a suffix what? Suffix what? Suffix lav. Suffix lav, even a suffix lav, Asham Tali. Now I will say, now you just have to remember, never forget the purity of Rabbi Eliezer Shita. That's not really what Rabbi Eliezer holds. Really what Rabbi Eliezer holds is what? Anytime, even if I don't know of anything particular that I did, this is the modified version. This is the toned down version of Rabbi Eliezer. Chamsei Gzera Shava mitzvos from chatas chelev, just like chelev, iser kares, chatas, so to asham talui, brought for something that is kares chatas. Good. Tan Rabbanan, chamisha ashamos mechaprin. So I'll say there are 5 types of ashamos. 5 types of ashamos that ultimately, again, bring kapara. Rashi quotes them. It's asham gzelos, meilos, shifcha charufa, nazir, mitzora. Asham tali eino mechaper kapara gemura. So we'll say, under normal circumstances, an asham, when brought, affects complete atonement. Asham talui, the first wide line of Chaf Hem and Aleph, does not affect complete atonement. So my kamar, what does this mean? Rav Yosef Hachi kamar, chamisha ashamos mechaperin kapara gemura, v'asham tali in mechaper kapara gemura. But asham tali does not affect complete atonement. So the truth is, this is not a chiddush. Rashi says, look at the last of the wide lines on top of Rashi. So we know this, because what happens when if you bring let's say a simple case. 2 pieces of chelev, 2 pieces of meat. I ate one of them. It turns out that one of them was chelev. I don't know which one is which. So what's the halacha? What do I bring? Asham talui. What happens if it turns out that halacha l'maisa? It turns out I did eat chelev. You bring a chatos. That's what it means. So the Gemara says, "Ein mechaper kapara gemura delok Rabbi Eliezer da Amar Asham talui balan avela." So both this is not like Rabbi Eliezer, who holds that halacha l'maisa, you could even bring asham taloi when on a case of the vela. Rabbi saying this is amazing. What the Gemara is suggesting over is as follows: that Rabbi Eliezer's model yields a chumrah. Well, it yields an interesting reality, which is Rabbi Eliezer says that you could bring an asham taloi for anything, even for a lav. What the Gemara is suggesting is what this teaches us is that in Rabbi Eliezer's model, in fact, asham taloi is a mechaper. It is a mechaper. So there's a fundamental nafkamina over here. So I just want to point out something amazing. Rabbi Eliezer, who holds that you can bring an asham taloi for anything, even a lav, holds that once you bring in asham taloi, then what? You have satisfied your carbonic liability. So in the case, for example, of 2 pieces of meat, even if it turns out I bring an asham taloi because I may have eaten chelev, it turns out I find out later on forensics came back, I definitely consumed chelev. Chamim Musa, you have to bring a chatas. Rabbi Eliezer says you're good. You're good. Amazing. Ravina Amar Haki Katani. Chamisha Shamos Ein Achar Mechaper Kaparasan. Dichim Yisyadele Maisi Asham Maisi. I'm sorry. Maisi Asham Taloi. Achar Mechaper Kaparasan. Dichim Yisyade Lo Maisi. So we'll say now. Watch. It says the Gemara. Ravina says this is what it means to say that there are five hashamos that ein acher mechaper kaparasan. That ultimately, again, there is no need for any further kapara once they are brought. Dichim misyadei maisi asham taloi. I'm sorry. Dichim misyadei asham taloi acher mechaper kaparaso. Dichim misyada lo maisi. Kidistan. Rabbi say, let's clarify this. Chayvi chatos va'ashamos va'doin sha'avar alein yom kippur. So we'll say. So now, just to clarify what we're talking about over here. The Ravina wants to say as follows: Chamisha hashamos ein acher mechaper kaparasan. So we'll say the acher over here, as we're going to see, is Yom Kippur. Look at Rashi for just a moment. It's Rashi in the short lines, 4 lines in. Ein acher mechaper kaparaso shemal b'shogeg v'lo yada v'avar lav Yom Kippurim v'acher kach noda lo mevi asham mi'ilos v'chein kulan. So we'll say so there are 5 hashamos. Ein acher mechaper kaparason. The acher, which is Yom Kippur, does not affect their kapara. Dechimisyada maisi asham. Maisi. Because ultimately maisi asham taloi. So my asham taloi acher mechaper kaparaso. So both says we're going to see there are different. Let me say it outside. There are different types of kapara. This is what the Mishnah was saying. So there are some averus where ultimately, again, Yom Kippur does not wipe out the liability. As opposed to Asham Talui, where what? Acher mechaper kaparaso. That Yom Kippur will wipe out the liability. Let's see this in the Braisa. So the Gemara says, Kidisnan, chayvi chatos v'ashamos v'adoin, shavar len Yom Kippurim, chayovin lahavi acher Yom Kippur. So we'll say the halacha is, if you are chayv chatas or an asham, right, for definitive infraction, definitive violation, even if Yom Kippur passed and you did not yet bring the carbon, Yom Kippur does not wipe out definitive carbonic liability. On the flip side, Ashamos Tuluyin Peturin. Ultimately, again, when it comes to Yom Kippur, I will say Yom Kippur wipes out Asham Talui liability. So I'll say this is actually quite dramatic. So halacha l'maaseh, again, if for some reason you have, I know I have a carbonic liability, a simple case. I know I ate chaylev. I know I was mechal Shabbos. I know I violated whatever it is. So and I have carbonic liability. Yom Kippur comes. Yom Kippur does not wipe out definitive carbonic liability. But if I have an Asham Talui hanging over me and I did not bring it before Yom Kippur wipes out Asham Talui liability. Quite amazing. Chai v'chatos v'ashamos v'adoin. So it says the Gemara, Katani, Chai v'chatos v'ashamos v'adoin she'avar alein Yom Kippurim chayovin lahavi la'achar Yom Kippur. So I will say, right, the halacha is that, as we just said before, if I have definitive carbonic liability, Yom Kippur does not wipe out that liability. I still have to bring the carbon after Yom Kippur. Chai v'ashamos tuluyin peturin. But I will say, what's the halacha? If I am chayvin asham talui and Yom Kippur comes, what is the halacha? Yom Kippur wipes out the liability. But Hani Mili, where do you know that from? How do you know that Yom Kippur wipes out asham talui liability? Kias Ravdimi Amra Vami Amra B'Chanina Amra Kra V'chiper ala Kodesh mitumos b'nei Yisrael umi pishehem l'chol chatasam. So watch this. Chatoim dumya dipsham. So we'll say, so a chait is like a pesha. Mapsham delav b'nei carbon. So we'll say, so in general, a pesha is not subject to a carbon. Why is a pesha not subject to a carbon? Pesha usually refers to what? B'mezid. Right? Intentional averus. So I will say, anytime you do an avera intentionally, there is no carbonic liability. So mapsham delav carbon, af chatoim delav b'nei carbon mechaper. So to chatoim that are not subject to a carbon, Yom Kippur is also mechaper. Aval chatoim b'nei carbon lo mechaper. But chatoim that ultimately again are subject to carbon are not mechaper. So we'll say, now watch this. What the drasha means like this: that ultimately the pasuk is equating chatoim with pshayim. So Yom Kippur is ultimately again mechaper chatoim that are like pshayim. Just like, what does that mean? What's a chait that's like a pesha? Just like a pesha doesn't have carbonic liability, so too again Yom Kippur is mechaper for a chait that doesn't have carbonic liability. What's an example of a chait that doesn't have carbonic liability? asham talui. Right? So both say, so as opposed to a chait that does have definitive carbon liability, which is, for example, what? If you have a definitive chatas or an asham liability, that Yom Kippur will not take care of. But if you have a chait that does not have definitive carbonic liability, like what? Like an asham talui, Yom Kippur will wipe that out. I'm going to Abaye. 1 second. This pasuk Rabbi is talking about the seir. Remember again, there are two seirim. One is that is sent la Azazel off the cliff, and one is that is offered up la Hashem. This carbon is talking about the seir that is offered up inside. Hu dichsev delo mechaper ala veros de mitzvah yadua. Ultimately, again, this seir is not mechaper for what? It is not mechaper for what we call a mitzvah yadua. Both say this seir is not mechaper for things that I know that I did wrong, where I have to do a separate shuvah for. Avasya mishtaleach de mechaper ala veros de mitzvah yadua, but the seir mishtaleach that is mechaper even for known sins. Ema lacha afilu al chatam de bnei karbaninu afilu al chatam de bnei karbaninu mechaper. Both say maybe it's only the seir b'fnim that is not mechaper for definitive carbonic liability. But the seir mishtaleach will be mechaper even for carbonos which have, even for averos which have defined carbonic liability. Rather, Abaye says like this. So I just want to point something out. Remember, this point was not disputed in the Mishnah. So it sounds like everybody agrees with this point, which is Yom Kippur is mechaper for what? Asham talui liability. But if you have definitive carbonic liability, Yom Kippur is not mechaper for that. You still have to bring your carbon after Yom Kippur. So what we're trying to find is the source for that halacha. So Amar Abaye mehacha. Abaye puts forward a different source. V'hisvada alav es kol avonos b'nei Yisrael v'es kol pishim l'chol chatasam. The pasuk says, he will confess upon it. He will confess upon it. This is on the head of the soyer. He will confess upon it. Kol avonos b'nei Yisrael v'es kol pishim l'chol chatasam. Chatoim dumyet p'shaim. So the Torah is equating chatoim to p'shaim. Ma p'shaim d'la b'nei karban. Just like Rabbi say, pesha is not subject to a carbon. Af chatoim delav b'nei carbon. So to Yom Kippur is mechaper for any type of chatoim that doesn't have definitive carbonic liability. Aval chatoim de b'nei carbon inhu, but chatoim which have definitive carbonic liability, lo mechaper. To that, Yom Kippur does not take care of. You have to bring your own carbon sometime after Yom Kippur. Umiyat tekra b'sir mishtaleach. And ultimately, again, the pasuk is making a miyut. Ultimately, where? B'sir mishtaleach. Look at Rashi. Umiyat tekra. Rashi almost right across. Umiyat tekra b'sir mishtaleach. Lashmo'inan da'afa gav dinafishe kaparaso afilu hachi abnei carbon lo mechaper. And the Torah comes along and singles out the seir mishtaleach to tell us that what? Even though the lememra the al chatam dinei carbon inhu lo mechaper. Even though seir mishtaleach has such incredible power, right? They both say that seir that is pushed off the cliff has incredible tshuva power, right? Incredible atonement power. Nevertheless, its atonement power stops at what? At averos which have defined carbonic liability. So I will say, if you go into Yom Kippur and you are chayiv a carbon, the seir mishtaleach cannot help you. For that, what? After Yom Kippur, you will still have to bring that particular carbon. Amrali Rav Dimi, mimai dahani psham la b'nei carboninu. How do you know that the psham that we're referencing over here are psham ultimately, again, for which there is no carbonic liability? Dilma hani de b'nei carboninu. Maybe the psham that are being referenced over here are psham which have carbonic liability. Kidisnan. Boss, listen to this. Now, boss, you say to yourself, that's what craziness. Crazy talk, right? Where do you have psham? Boss, a pesha is an intentional avera. Where do you ever find a pesha, an intentional avera, which is subject to a carbon? Funny, you should ask. Kedisnan, arba'a mevin ala zodon kishkaga. Now, boss, there are four situations where halacha lemaisa you will bring a carbon for intentional violation as if you did it unintentionally. So both say itmar nami ki aser rabin amar Rabbi Yossi. So both say therefore again the whole drasha was predicated on the idea that pesha represents an infraction for which there is no carbonic liability. And therefore the pasuk which equates Chatam to Pshaim is telling me that what type of chait is Yom Kippur mechaper for? A chait where there is no defined carbonic liability, like Asham Talui. But if you have defined carbonic liability, Yom Kippur is not mechaper, you have to bring your carbon. Now the Gemara says, 1 second. Pesha, there are psham, there are intentional violations where there is defined carbonic liability. It's marnami kiasir rabin amar Rabbi Yossi amar Reish Lakish visvada alav es kalvanos b'nei Yisrael es kol b'shem l'chol chatasan. Again, chatam dumya de pshaim. Both say the pasuk is teaching me that it is a chait that is similar to a pesha. Ma psham dla b'nei karban mechaper, just like a pesha which has no carbonic liability. Yom Kippur is mechaper. Av chatoim de lav b'nei karban mechaper. So too Yom Kippur is what? Yom Kippur is mechaper for what? For chatoim which do not have defined carbonic liability, like Asham Talui. Aval chatoim de b'nei karban lo mechaper. But I will say, if you have carbonic liability on your shoulders, ultimately again Yom Kippur is not mechaper for that. Amr Abaye said, Ano nami mihadein kra amri, va'akshli Rav Dimi minay dehane p'shaim glad b'nei karbaninu, dilma hanach de b'nei karbaninu. But 1 second, I had the same drasha, but again, you're assuming p'shaim means intentional averos which have no carbonic liability. But what about the fact that there are some pshaim that carry with them carbonic liability? Kidisnan arba'a mevidin ala zado kishkaga. Amali Rabin, you're right, but rov pshaim lav b'nei karban. It's true, fine, shkoyach. You have 4 intentional averos out of the wide world of averos that carry with them carbonic liability. When the Torah says pesha, we assume that's what? Pesha means what? The majority of pshaim, and the overwhelming majority of pshaim are pshaim that do not have carbonic liability. Armalei rov ksiv. Does the pasuk say that Yom Kippur is mechaper for rov pshaim? El amrabai mireisha dikra. Learn it out from the beginning of the pasuk. What does the beginning of the pasuk say? Visvada alav is kalavanos b'nei Yisrael. The pasuk says he will confess, for referring to the Kohen. He will confess upon the seir. He will confess upon the seir. Right? The avonos of Bnei Yisrael. V'tanya, avonos ilus donos. Avonos also refers to intentional averos. V'chinu omer, avona ba, v'es kol b'shem v'chol chat osam, la'amali, l'akshiyeh l'pshoim. To compare chatam to pshoim, ma pshoim de la b'nei karban, just like pshoim are not subject to karban, af chatam de la b'nei karban. So to the chait, the type of chatam that Yom Kippur is mechaper for, are the type of chatam that are not subject to karbanos. Aval chatam de b'nei karbaninu lo mechaper. But about the type of chait which are subject to definitive carbonic liability, ultimately again Yom Kippur is not mechaper. And about say this is the bottom line conclusion of the Gemara, that Yom Kippur will be mechaper ultimately again for Asham Talui, because that's called chait, right? That's called ultimately Yom Kippur is mechaper for any type of infraction which does not have a defined carbonic liability attached to it. Even if it has an Asham Talui, Yom Kippur wipes that out. What doesn't Yom Kippur wipe out? A pre-existing defined carbonic liability. If you go into Yom Kippur, ultimately again with carbonic obligation on your shoulders, Yom Kippur does not wipe that. Rabbi said, I just want to point out an incredible, profound novelty. So understand what we just learned? Yom Kippur wipes out avonos and pshaim. Avonos and pshaim. So just to understand, so the Rambam in Hilchos Tshuva defines what's an avon and what's a pesha. An avon is an intentional avera. Pesha is an intentional avera, kavana limrod bo, with kavana to rebel against Hashem. In other words, they both say, there are different ways to do it. Don't. This is not halacha l'maisa, right? But again, there are different ways to do a kavana, an avera b'mezid, right? I could do b'mezid like I love chazer. I love chazer. I know it's aser. I don't care. I love it. I love it. God, I love you too. But in this moment, I love chazer more, right? Just in this moment, but I love you a lot. I'm not rebelling against it. I just love chazer. That's one type of mezid. That's an avon. Pesha is, God, you're not my boss. You're not in charge of me. Right? I'm my own man. So I have a kavanah to rebel against the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yom Kippur is mechaper for avonos, is mechaper for pshaim, is mechaper for Asham Talui. So isn't it amazing that yet, I will say, if I go into Yom Kippur and I accidentally ate a piece of chaylev, right? And it was an accident. I'm chai v'chatas. Okay, no suffix. I know I ate chaylev. I'm chai v'chatas. Yom Kippur doesn't wipe that out, right? Yom Kippur will wipe out my rebellious averos. Yom Kippur will wipe out my intentional averos, But Yom Kippur doesn't wipe out a pre-existing carbonic obligation. Why, Rabbi Silber? Because at the end of the day, no one can take care of your obligations but you. If you walk into Yom Kippur and there is an obligation on your shoulders, you must make good on your obligations. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I could clean up your soul. I could help with that. I could clean up your soul. But if you have responsibilities that are yours, no one else could discharge your responsibilities except you. God says you can't put that on me. I have my own responsibilities. I gave you your soul. I gave you life. I could take some responsibility for cleaning up the mess in your soul. I'll take care of your chatoim. I'll take care of your avonos, your pshaim. But if you walk in with an obligation on your shoulders, that's yours. Don't try to shift that off to someone else. You must own your own obligations. And I both say, what an incredible musar for life. Because the truth is, we all have obligations. We have obligations as husbands, Baruch Hashem. We have obligations as fathers. We have obligations as Jews. Obligations as Jews. And a lot of times, we try to shirk those obligations and shift them onto someone else. Because Baruch Hu says, I can help you with a lot of stuff. But your obligations are your obligations. Don't deflect. Don't defer. Don't try to put them on someone else. I can help you with a lot of stuff. But the stuff that's your responsibility, the things that are your pre-existing obligations, you and only you are responsible for them. You and only you can manage them. You and only you bear the ultimate responsibility for them. Sheikh Abbas, we'll stop over here. So the Rambam says Shuvah. Shuvah is mechaper for everything. Shuvah is mechaper for everything.